Mike Bohn joined today by Vicente Luque, who's coming off a massive win over Tyron Woodley. Vicente, how are you doing, man? Are you still riding high off the fight?
Hey man, yeah man, I'm really excited with this win. Just enjoying my time now. I'm back home in Brasilia with my family, and also enjoying now that I can eat. I don't gotta cut weight anymore, so yeah, it's a good time.
That's great, man. Well, it was obviously a great performance from you, another bonus winning performance and everything. Just did the fight go kind of how you expected it? Obviously, Tyron came out really, really aggressive. Were you expecting him to maybe do that given kind of the desperation of his situation?
Yeah, I was ready for that, especially being 3 rounds opposed to 5 rounds that he has been fighting before this fight. I thought that he would be more aggressive. He wouldn't be that concerned about getting tired. So I did expect him to be really aggressive in this fight, but he was a little bit more even than I had anticipated. I kind of was a little bit, caught a little bit. I don't know. He was really aggressive. He went right into the that overhand into the takedown, but it was something I had trained a lot, especially the that work on the cage. I know that he likes to do that to try to wear out the arms of strikers, and I expect him to do that. And I trained a lot, and it worked out. Training paid off. It was really like me and my coaches had kind of envisioned. And yeah, I mean, it was a little bit surprising in the beginning, but I was ready for that.
Yeah, and he did come out flying, as you kind of mentioned there. But me watching it, and obviously you can clarify being the one in there, when he clinched you against the fence and you were able to turn him around, to me, that seemed like a really big moment for you. And it maybe sapped a little bit of his confidence. And it seemed like you were in control of the fight from that point. I know you got hit with the big punch a little bit later, but once you were able to turn him on the fence and kind of do some work there, that felt like a really big moment for you in that fight. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And that first round was about that. Was about showing him that I could wrestle, that I was gonna keep this fight standing. And if he wanted to, try to get me down or try to work, try to keep me on the cage, it was not gonna be easy work for him. And that's what I was trying to do in that beginning of the first round. And that was the biggest focus on that round. I just wanted to let him know that, hey, I'm trained over here. You're not gonna just get me down or try to hold me in the cage because I've trained for that. I wanted to show my strength in the grappling side. And I think that was kind of something that really defined at that moment that the fight was going to, after that, it was going to have to on the stand up. We're not going to go to the ground, not if he wanted to put me there. And that's why I think that after we separated a couple of times, it turned into a striking match.
Yeah, and you're obviously able to hurt him pretty bad on the feet. Were you surprised he didn't go down from any of those punches? I mean, I know he was kind of on wobbly legs for a while there, and the ref was taking a really close look at it. But are you surprised the strikes didn't stop the fight there?
Yeah, I mean, I hit him really hard, and I know that I do hit hard, so I was kind of surprised with his chin. He can take a punch for sure, and he knows kind of once he was, kind of dizzy and not being able to really stand his ground so well, he was able to still move a little bit and kind of throw some surprising shots. So he had that experience, he knew how to deal with that situation. That's why once I hit him with a left hook and he kind of dove into a single leg, I saw the opportunity to go to the submission, and I thought it made sense because I realized that he could take the punishment I was throwing it on the stand up. Maybe I would eventually get the knockout, but I said, hey, I could go for the submission, and I think it's let's say an easier way right now to get this fight finished than just trying to knock him out on the stand up.
Yeah, and it was a great move for sure. And I know you had said at the press conference after the fact that you don't really go for the submissions unless you know they're 100% there and everything. So that was obviously great fight IQ on your behalf. And tapping it with the Darce, it's the most Darce choke finishes in UFC history. It's now you and Tony Ferguson with three each.
Yeah, I mean, it's a move that I love to go to. I have long arms, so it's really easy to sink that in. And whenever I see an opportunity, I go for it. Especially with my game, myself being a striker, there are many situations where I have to sprawl so I don't get taken down. And the Darce is right there. After a sprawl, the Darce is there. And yeah, it's just a go-to move. And whenever it's in, I'm just gonna go for it because I know like my Darces or Anacondas, they are really strong. It's really hard once they're closed, once they're in, it's really hard that I'm not gonna finish that fight.
Yeah, man, and finishing fights is something you've done incredibly well in the UFC. I saw you retweet the graphic I made on the MMA Junkie Twitter. A dozen finishes now for you, only 29 years old. I mean, you're one shy of the record for this division. That seems pretty incredible. One more and you'll be tied with Matt Brown, who has 13. That's just seems pretty nuts that you're there already.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not chasing that record, but definitely I'm going to be excited to beat it. And it's just my style. It has always been like that. I've always like I don't like to leave fights on the judges just because you never know. Even though you can have a fight that looks the last time that I left it to the judges against Mike Perry, it was a split decision. A lot of people thought that Mike Perry won that fight. So it's kind of tricky. I don't want to risk, losing a fight because of a decision. So if I see an opportunity, be it standing up or on the ground, I'm gonna go for that finish. And sometimes it doesn't finish the first time, but I'm not afraid, to just take the risk and maybe get a little bit tired. But after that, I can recover and try it again in the second round, try it again in the third round. I'm not afraid to go for after those finishes. And I don't know, it just works out. It's my style. I'm entertaining and I have fun. That's another thing. I like to have fun in there. I don't like to just be doing the things that I need to do to have a safe win. I want to have fun in there. I want to know that the crowd is enjoying what I'm doing.
Yeah, and it's 12 UFC finishes, and the record overall in the company is 16. I believe Donald Cerrone and Charles Oliveira share that record. I know you said you're not chasing it, but it feels like if you continue at this pace, at the end of the day, you might be the all-time finishes leader in the UFC. That would be pretty incredible.
Definitely, that would be, man, amazing. I think these records most of all speak on my style and speak on what I aim to be as a fighter. And yeah, I'm not going to change my style now at this level. I'm still going to be chasing those finishes and looking to put on the most entertaining fights I can put. And I think naturally that's going to make me, beat these records. And hopefully, I'll be the biggest finisher in the UFC.
That'd be amazing. And to go back to the fight a little bit, it seems like all signs point to this being Tyron Woodley's final fight in the UFC. I know it was the last on his contract. Dana White was asked about him, and he kind of, not so subtly said this is probably it for him. Does it mean anything special to you to be Tyron Woodley's final UFC opponent likely? I mean, this is guy, I know it's been a rough run of results here at the end, but still, in my book, one of the best five welterweights in MMA history, probably.
I don't know if it means like if it's his last fight or not. That's not a big thing for me. I would definitely love to watch him fight again and perform at a high level. But what really excites me is that we fought and he was there. One of the best Woodleys we've seen in the last fights, and that's really was exciting. I was ready for that. I said in many interviews that I was ready for the best Woodley in a long time, and I could not get ready for something less than that because that would be underestimating him, and then I would be in trouble. And that's what we saw, a Woodley that was willing, to come forward, to throw everything he had and try to finish me. And that was really entertaining. And also fighting a former champ, like you said, a legend, in the welterweight division. All of this, I think it's really important for me and for my career and for what I plan to do in the future. So yeah, it was an honor to fight a guy like Woodley.
And you guys get fight of the night for a fight that lasts less than 4 minutes. You don't see that happen very often. That's pretty. Were you surprised that? I mean, you absolutely deserved a bonus for that, but were you surprised it wasn't a performance of the night and rather the fight of the night?
Yeah, I kind of was surprised it was round of the night, right? I mean, it was funny, and but I think it made sense after the fight. A lot of fans and a lot of people from my family, they were kind of talking to me and telling me, man, it was crazy. I was so nervous during the fight because he came in that trying to get you down and so quickly, using all his power over there. Then he hit you with that right hand. Right after that, you hit him with a right hand, and then you started, finishing him. So it was a really back and forth, even though it was only one round. A lot of action on that fight. Many things happened on that fight. So yeah, I thought it made sense to be fight of the night, especially because in a fight of the night, it depends on both fighters to make that happen. And I think this fight was exactly that. If Woodley hadn't gone as aggressive as he did and wasn't willing to put everything on the line, the fight wouldn't have been that way, you know. And same thing for myself. I went in there to throw everything I could at Woodley. So without one of us, the fight wouldn't be the way it was. So I thought that the fight of the night made sense, and both of us should get the bonus.
For sure, it was a great one. And then after the fight, you call out Nate Diaz, which I thought was a great call out. It's always good to attach your name to someone like Nate. But then, lo and behold, Tuesday night, we get a fight announcement that Nate Diaz is coming back to fight Leon Edwards at UFC 262. So, I guess, first of all, what was your reaction when you saw that news come out?
Yeah, so right after I called him out, you know, there were people that loved that call out, and were other people saying like, "Man, you wasted a call out. Nate is never gonna come back. You know, he doesn't look like he's gonna fight again." Then when that fight was announced, I was like, "Man, you see, it wasn't such a crazy call out. You know, I knew he was gonna come back at some point. I wish it were against me, but I mean, I think that's a great fight. And for Nate, it makes sense. I mean, right now I'm number 6, and Leon Edwards is number 3, so that's the better fight for him. So I don't know. I mean, I wanted that fight against either of them. I would love to have the rematch against Leon Edwards, but I know that, you know, not always we get what we want. But I'm here. I just had a fight. I got to rest a little bit. I have my son is gonna be born soon, so also I'm gonna take some time to take care of that. But you know, I'm evolving. I'm training. You know, I came out of this fight 100%, so I'm gonna be back to training real soon. Keep working on my, you know, among my game, developing myself, and we'll see. There is this fight happening right now. We have the title fight going on, and I don't know. I think there are many different possibilities. So yeah, I'm not totally disappointed to not get that fight. I definitely wanted to fight Diaz, but just the fact that he's going back to activity makes it more realistic that I can get a fight against him eventually. So we'll see. Let things play out, and we'll see what I'm gonna get next.
Yeah, because if you kind of look at the lay of the land in the welterweight division, obviously, as you mentioned, there's the title fight. We don't know what's happening with Colby and Gilbert Burns. And then the only other person that's not booked ahead of you is Stephen Thompson, who obviously you fought not that long ago. So I don't know what the appetite is for a rematch. But I think right now, as you mentioned, these fights are happening pretty soon. It's not like we need to wait 4 months for the title fight or 6 months or something like that. So it's kind of in your mind the best move to just sit back, as you said, you just fought, and let some of these fights play out, and then maybe it'll give you a clear path of what's next.
Yeah, I think that's the move to make, especially because that was my plan already. Uh, with everything that is going on here, I think it just makes sense. I had a great fight now, and I had a really hard training camp for this fight. Even though the fight just lasted one round, uh, the training camp is really where you put in all the work, and that's what the body kind of feels a little bit. So I need that rest. But I'm definitely gonna get back to work and work on myself, work on developing. I think, you know, I had a 7 month layoff between my previous fight against Randy Brown to this one against Woodley, and I thought it was great. You know, I really worked on many different things that I needed to. I could, you know, take some time to look at my own game without having an opponent to worry about. And that's what I'm gonna do right now. I'm gonna work on myself, on developing my game, especially at this high level I'm fighting right now. It's really important to do that, and we'll see. Let this fight play out, and yeah, you know, I want to put in 2 fights in until the end of the year. You know, 2 more fights. So maybe August we would be looking at something, and I think yeah, until then we'll get everything figured out.
Yeah, and of course, the next pay per view has the title fight and everything. So, do you think things are going to go any different between Kamaru and Jorge this time around?
It's hard, man. I really can't see that fight going so different. I definitely think that Masvidal having a training camp specifically for this fight now, with some good time to train, that's gonna help him. You know, maybe he can get up a little bit quicker. Maybe he can stand, you know, his ground a little bit more and give some trouble to Kamaru. But I still think Kamaru is gonna be able to impose his will and work that wrestling. Try to, you know, tire Masvidal out, especially his arms. Try to take that power away from his arms. And eventually, I think he's gonna get a decision win over Masvidal. So I think it's going to be a tougher fight than the first one for sure, but I don't see it going Masvidal's way. We'll see. He can surprise us. He has done that in the past, but I'll be watching and excited. I mean, whoever wins, I'm still going to be chasing that title, so it doesn't change that much to me. I'm just going to sit down, watch a nice fight. I used to be a teammate from Kamaru, so I want him definitely to keep that title, but I'm just gonna be watching and waiting to see who's the new champion or who remains a champion.
Yeah, I mean, Kamaro's run has been really spectacular. Obviously, we talk about records and everything. He's approaching one of the longest winning streaks in UFC history. It'll be 14 in a row if he wins this fight. Do you kind of hope that when you do inevitably get to that title shot, he's still the guy there because he's rapidly entrenching himself as one of the best welterweights ever? And I'm sure to beat him, especially to maybe be the first guy in the UFC to beat him, would be a really significant way to win the title.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want him to keep that title until I get there, unless it's against Gilbert Burns, because Gilbert Burns, is my good friend, and we're always helping each other every single fight. So if he gets that opportunity again, I will be helping him out, and I will be hoping for him to be the new champ. But in any other case, I would love to Kamaru to remain the champion. We have a great friendship as well, and we trained many years together. And I know how hard he works. I know how much he has been putting into his career. I know what kind of fighter he is, and yeah, he can really be one of the greatest welterweights ever. So yeah, I would love to eventually get to fight him and have him as a champion and be able to dethrone him. It would be something amazing, and I know it would be one of my toughest fights ever. I know that Kamaru is a beast. So yeah, I would love to have him as a champion and have a fight against him.
That'd be a great one for sure. And to circle back to the Diaz fight, obviously, you still there? Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, sorry, I cut off a little bit. But yeah, just to circle back to the fight between Nate and Leon. Obviously, Leon pretty well in there. How do you think that fight goes? Do you think Nate can kind of return from this long layoff and end Leon's winning streak here?
Nate is he's a tough guy, and he can go 5 rounds, at a high pace. He can kind of tire his opponent out. And on the ground, he has, some tricky submissions. So I would put him as a danger. He can definitely pull something out and get a win out of nowhere. But if I'm going to go with who's the favorite to win that fight, I got to go with Leon Edwards because he just has a solid game all around. He has some good striking. He's a southpaw, as is Nate. So it's not going to be that tricky for either of them to fight each other because both are southpaws. And on the wrestling, on grappling side, Leon Edwards has really good wrestling. He can really, kind of tire his opponent out, work that ground and pound, and just controlling his opponent. While Nate is more of a sub guy, he tries to go for submissions. So I think they're kind of in grappling side, I would say they're matched up kind of evenly because Nate is a better submission artist, but Leon has, a good control game and he can really do that for many rounds. But I don't know. I just think that Leon Edwards is a little bit more solid and has fought more recently. So I'm going to go with him as the favorite to win that fight. But Nate is always tricky. He can always pull something out, maybe a submission out of nowhere or a knockout, just uh, really tire out Leon Edwards with his volume. Nate has a big volume of punches and get a knockout. We'll see. I think that, yeah, I don't know. It's a hard call. I'm going to go with Leon Edwards as the favorite to win.
Great analysis there. And just last thing before I let you go, Vicente, you mentioned, you're six in the UFC's rankings now. That top five at welterweight, I mean, one of the hardest weight classes in the entire sport to kind of break into the upper echelon. When you look at your skill set and, we mentioned you're 29 years old, your age, you seem to be very, very solid right now and everything's kind of coming together. When you look at, this next year or two of your career, what do you think you have to do to, climb from 6 to 1 there in terms of just developing the little things you need? Because it seems like this right now is you just entering your prime, remarkably enough, and you've been in the UFC for quite a while now, doing great things.
Yeah, I mean, I still see a lot of evolution in my game. I think I'm just, scratching the level of fighter I can be. So yeah, I see myself evolving in every single area, striking, grappling, wrestling. And I think my style is something that, put me in this position. I have, I think, 9 wins out of my 10 last fights.
Mhm.
And I think most of them by finishes, maybe 8 of them were all by finish. So that style, what I bring in the fight, people want to watch that. The UFC enjoys that kind of style. And it's not often that guys can fight in this fashion and have big win streaks, and position themselves as I have right now. So yeah, I think I have to keep on evolving, keep on doing what I'm doing, fighting in the style I do fight, and get big fights. I think, what I did last Saturday, the biggest thing is not the way I won, but who I did it against. Win in that fashion against a former champion. That's something that says a lot. Not many people have done that to Tyron Woodley. No matter if they say that he's not the same, still he wasn't the same, and his last 3 fights were 5 rounders. So he's still a tough guy. And to finish him like that, I think that talks a lot about the kind of fighter I am and what I bring, to the welterweight division. That's my style. I'm gonna look to finish fights every single time I'm in there, and I think that's what fans want to see, and that's what the UFC enjoys as well.
Yeah, and actually, last thing, just to follow up on what you said there. I mean, you look at like beating Tyron. Does that give you a lot of confidence in the style matchups there to come? Because you look at Usman and Covington and Leon and like these guys to a degree. Obviously, Woodley's his own fighter, but wrestling backgrounds, can strike well, and to be able to handle that style against Woodley must give you a lot of confidence, knowing that the style matchups that are coming your way as you climb to the very top of the rankings there.
Yeah, I mean, the top of the division, most of these guys are grapplers. All of them have good striking as well, but they're more grappling orientated and kind of trying to tire off their opponents to eventually maybe strike in the later rounds. And having a fight against a guy like Woodley where he tried to do that against me, try to tire me out, and I was able to revert that and just impose my will and then bring the fight to where I wanted it to play out, that was striking. That kind of shows a division that I'm getting ready to fight these guys, and shows myself as well, that my wrestling has been evolving a lot in the last years, and I've been working on it. I just hadn't faced a wrestler, so it was great to face Woodley right now, and eventually, I want to face other guys like that. I think Leon Edwards would be a great test as well. Colby Covington would be another great guy that I would like to fight, because if we look at the champion right now, he is an amazing wrestler. He's been developing his striking, but he's an amazing wrestler. So if I want to be ready to beat a guy like that, I gotta face a tough competition like Kobe, like Leon Edwards, that are gonna try to do the same thing against me, just try to wrestle me and then kind of eliminate my striking. And yeah, I feel confident to fight these guys. I feel that right now I am at the best point in my career where I can just unleash my striking and not worry about if I'm gonna go to the ground. Even because if we do get to the ground, I got a lot of tools over there with my jiu-jitsu, to put these guys in danger as well. So yeah, I think that right now I feel really good, really confident on my skill set, and I'm only going to improve from here.
Awesome, man. Well, happy for you. Obviously, I've been high on you since the Ultimate Fighter, and to see everything coming together so well as is right now is really awesome to see. And seems like nothing but big fights for you ahead. Obviously, the Nate Diaz thing didn't work out right now, but something is primed really big for you, I imagine, once we see some of these fights play out in the next 6 or so weeks here.
For sure. Thank you. I appreciate it, man.